So I've alluded to this in videos I've made previously this week, but in case you didn't know, I'm getting a divorce. Me and my wife made the decision to split up and go our separate ways so that we could try to find happiness on our own as individuals. There was no instance of infidelity, there was no instance of abuse or anything like that. And the split has been, for the most part, amicable. We're working together to try to get this house sold, and we're trying to find our own places to live so that we can both move on with our lives. It could be a lot worse. It could be a way more toxic and messy situation, and it's not, and I'm grateful for that. But I would be lying to y'all if I said this shit wasn't tough, man, because it is. Because I never thought that I would be starting over again at 34 years old. I thought once I got married that this was it. This was going to be my forever person for the rest.
This is a tough conversation because I think I'm going to play the rest of this video in a minute. Um, I think this is something that I've shared with people. Like, marriage is supposed to be a forever thing. It really is. It really is, and I've never played with it because, listen, what I've seen a marriage do for people in the sense of catapulting their life as individuals and as a couple, powerful, right? But that's rare because most people aren't in healthy spaces to even be in a marriage. So on the flip side, the damage I've seen divorces do to people, to individuals, to couples. I've seen people lose their mind, never be the same. Um, like, like traumatic, like just an impact on their thinking and how they view life and love. Uh, it was so traumatic. The divorce was so traumatic to them that they never recovered. I think it's time to have real conversations about the seriousness of marriage and how this is not something, you just lollygag into based off your emotions, how this is not something you just decide on your own, how this is something that, as I said in a previous video, you gotta go back to who designed marriage, what's its purpose, and then we can go from there onto how to move and how to navigate and how to find solutions in it. He said there was no infidelity, no abuse or anything like that. You know, so why? Like, are these not things that you saw prior to marriage that you ignored? Did you have the right people in your life, mentorship, counseling, like speaking to you and your spouse about, hey, maybe we should go in this direction, maybe we shouldn't? Like, what wisdom were you getting? What insight were you, receiving that you ignored or failed to consider? Well, that's the same thing. But yeah, we got to take this serious. I want him to finish, but when he says it's not, he says it's hard. Or I think he said it's not easy. Same difference. I know it's not. It's nothing to be played with, and it changes your life. And I think it's important for us to have a real conversation about that. Let him finish, and then I'll come back and give the rest of my commentary.
My life. And that's not what happened. And, sometimes life works like that, and it's okay. We did try very hard to, repair our issues. We went through couples therapy for a number of years, along with individual therapy. But, ultimately we made the decision that, the stuff we've been dealing with was becoming insurmountable and it was affecting our happiness. A lot of resentment and frustration was building up in the relationship. And it got to a point where we couldn't make heads or tails of it, so we just made the decision to split up. I want to make this clear. I am okay. She is okay. And both of our families, for the most part, have been very supportive of this decision that we decided to make. A lot of people have asked me why we made this decision and why we couldn't just work it out. We were trying. We really were. But at the end of the day, we weren't happy. I wasn't happy, and I want to be happy. And she deserves to be happy. And whatever form that takes, whether we're together or apart, I hope that we both find it.
That happiness word is really, it has a lot of us in a chokehold. And here's what I mean by that. It's so subjective. It's so subjective. Like, happiness changes. So to build your life, your marriage on what makes you happy, your life is going to be like this. And to me, I think, for example, I like working out. But working out makes me happy. But working out is only a small fraction of my life, a small fraction of my day. Um, and if I'm using that to make me happy, I'm not going to be satisfied because it's not going to be able to fulfill me. And I think a lot of times, let me let me say this. I, I've never been married. I'm not an expert on life. There's just certain things that I believe are foundational principles for life. And I believe understanding that happiness is not a reason to do something or to commit to something or not to commit. And what I mean by that is, and it has a lot of people in the chokehold because if people don't find satisfaction in a season of their life, they start questioning everything outside of it versus like what's going, like, because somebody may say, well, they're not like not examining what's going on within, and somebody may say, well, I'm sure they have done that. If you are have done the work to where you examine what's inside of you and why you're not happy, it's going to show you, for one, that nothing outside of you can make you happy, right? And then two, it's going to show you that you can't allow anyone outside of you to make you happy. So even him saying like, I want to be happy. Well, your happiness has little to do with her. Like, of course, someone being a headache of a human being can cause challenges to your peace, bring stress to your life, and even like stress will make you sick or even take you out ultimately. So I'm not saying that, but I am saying like getting married to be happy or getting married and then thinking that you should always be happy. It's like waking up single and thinking that like, oh, I should just be happy. That's not how life works. You have to know like that happiness is an ebb and flow. You have to understand life is also about contentment, and life is full of seasons. So like he said a lot, but I want to hone in on that happiness. Happiness is not an indicator for whether or not your life is good. I want to say that again. Happiness is not an indicator on whether or not your life is good. I've There are things that, have happened in my life that hurt me and I wasn't happy, but my life was still good. There are things that I'm working to overcome in my life right now that I'm not happy about, but my life is still good. I'm not saying that happiness isn't something that we should have. I'm saying basing the health of a marriage on happiness is not a good idea. Basing the happiness that we feel on whether our life is good is not a good idea. And that's why I think this conversation needs to be. Take marriage serious, have precaution, walk slow so you don't have to take steps backwards, right? And consider what it really means to be happy and what that looks like. I just think it's a great conversation. Again, I've never been married. I'm not an expert on marriage or life. I'm just giving, thoughts that I think are principles that we should use as we approach life in terms of marriage, romance, health, like all of the above. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I think it's a great conversation. Also, you can connect with the brand and purchase merch like this hoodie I'm wearing on our website at www.there'shopebrand.com. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you'd like to donate, the information is in the description below, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.